Support for Trifles comes from listeners like you, who support us through Patreon and Substack. Bonus material, thank you gifts, and more await at patreon.com/trifles and at trifles.substack.com. And now you can enjoy some Trifles swag, mugs, notepads, and oval stickers, available in our store. Find it at ihearofsherlock.com/merchandise.
Welcome to Trifles, a weekly podcast about the Sherlock Holmes stories.
It is, of course, a trifle, but there is nothing so important as trifles.
Yes, the stone was Mazarin, the carbuncle was blue, and the mane was lion, but there are so many other details to pick apart in the stories.
Pray, be precise as to details.
You know the plots, but what about the minutiae? Have you ever stopped to wonder about what kind of chemistry experiments Sherlock Holmes was running? Or what a yeggman is? Or why Holmes's index was sorted haphazardly?
You are very inquisitive, Mr. Holmes.
It is my business to know what other people don't know.
Scott Monty and Burt Wolder will have the answers to these questions and more in Trifles.
The game's afoot.
Episode 500. Trifles at 500. Hello there, and welcome to Trifles, the Sherlock Holmes podcast where we get into the minutiae in the Sherlock Holmes stories. I'm Scott Monty.
I'm Burt Wolder.
And Burt, you don't look a day over 500, or D, as the Romans used to say.
Oh, I like that, D. Yeah, that's very good. Well, actually, I was shaving this morning, and I thought I looked a little 499-ish.
Oh, well, just keep your chin clean, and people will never see the gray hairs. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, folks, you are in luck. You happen to join us for the 500th episode of Trifles, halfway on our way to 1,000. Hard to believe. We have put a lot of mileage on this particular vehicle, and we're still going. We haven't even had an oil change yet. And we thought that we'd do something a little different this time around for the 500th. What is that exactly? Well, stay tuned and you will find out. And while you're waiting, you can get over to Patreon or Substack and sign up for us there. You can listen to the shows ad-free on both of those platforms, and we have occasional bonus content to share with our supporters. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. You can work it as an annual subscription where you get a discount for being with us throughout the whole year, or you could just do it a month at a time if you just want to try us out and see what it's like. Either way, we really appreciate any support you can give us, and your support not only comes from monetary ways, but also in ways related to sharing our content. The more people who find out about this show, the better off we are as a Sherlockian community. So feel free, if you are so inspired, to share this episode and share the entire show. Okay, Burt, I'm going to blame you for this particular idea, this concept behind the show. So I'm going to let you explain it.
I can't explain it. It's a complete mystery to me. Why you go along with this stuff is just beyond me.
Oh, I'm weak-minded. Weak-minded here.
The idea, such as it was because I'm such a fan of the ridiculous, what would happen if we had a couple of the larger anthologies of the cases of Sherlock Holmes and explored what is on page 500 of each one of them? And to see what we could see by way of Trifles.
Great idea. And we have so many different editions that page 500 is different on all of them, not even the same story.
Right.
So where do you think we should kick it off?
Well, the thing that started me off on this was the Doubleday. So I think we should go to the Doubleday edition.
Doubleday 500.
This is published by Doubleday and Company. The one that I have. Well, it's a late printing. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the plates are basically the same. They've all been since, I think, 1930 was when the Doubleday first came out.
Well, no, I think the 1930 was when Conan Doyle died, and that they didn't have the pagination.
Oh, okay.
Right. Or am I misremembering that?
I don't know.
I could be misremembering that.
Okay. Well, this looks like the version I have. I remember I got when I was in college. It looks like it is the 46th or 47th printing. That's a pretty good run.
Oh, it's a very good run.
Yeah.
It's a nice book.
So, page 500. Let's see. I thought we might read a little bit here, see what trifling items we pick up. The will was duly finished, signed, and witnessed by my clerk. This is it on the blue paper, and these slips, as I have explained, are the rough draft. Mr. Jonas Oldacre then informed me that there were a number of documents, building leases, title deeds, mortgages, scrip, and so forth, which it was necessary that I should see and understand. He said that his mind would not be easy until the whole thing was settled, and he begged me to come out to his house in Norwood that night, bringing the will with me, and to arrange matters. Remember, my boy, not one word to your parents about the affair until everything is settled. We'll keep it as a little surprise for them. He was very insistent upon this point and made me promise it faithfully.
Yeah.
So my trifle in this particular paragraph is as, and this, of course, is John Hector McFarlane speaking. He runs down what's included in the will, title deeds, mortgages, etc. He mentions scrip. Scrip. S-C-R-I-P. Do we know what scrip is?
I'm going back over the passage. I don't see the words. Where is it? Show me. Oh, I see. Yeah, number of documents, building leases, title deeds, mortgages, scrip, and so forth. I think scrip is...
I've stumped the chump. I knew it was going to happen.
Easy. That's easy to do. I think scrip is a sort of... I'm finding hard to put into words what I think it is, which means my definition is probably wrong. But I think it's paper notations of an uncertain financial value. So like an IOU.
There you go.
Things like that. But
Yeah.
what is the real definition of it?
It's a noun. There's the archaic meaning is a small bag or wallet, but the secondary meaning, which is really what we're talking about here, is any of various documents used as evidence that the holder or bearer is entitled to receive something, such as a fractional share of stock, an allotment of land, could be a paper currency or token issued for temporary use in an emergency.
Oh, well, I think that's great. And one thing that's always puzzled me about this particular passage in the Norwood Builder, only because of my own ignorance, is, as you say, McFarlane has stated, the will was duly finished, signed, and witnessed by my clerk. This is it on the blue paper. And these slips, draft. Now, how big is a slip? And
Right.
why is the will on blue paper?
Is that a typical legal drafting type of paper of the time?
Normally, for a will, I would think that there would be some normalization around the finished form of a will that was drawn up by a legal professional such as McFarlane. And I would think it would be somewhat standardized, and I would think it would be. But see, all I'm going on here is my experience in watching films in which characters who are in 19th century dress take pieces of paper out of a folder that says will on it.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a parchmenty, official-looking kind of a document.
Oh.
Why is it blue paper?
I don't know.
This is it on blue paper. And was there part of a process where you would sign it on this blue paper or whatever it is, and then the final copies would be prepared on some other type of parchment?
Maybe, yeah.
And then what are the slips? How big is a slip that he says are the rough draft? Because a slip seems to me like a bookmark-shaped, almost a bookmark-shaped piece of paper.
Yeah. Oh, you're well beyond my pay grade at this point.
And why? Why would it, if in fact that's what it was, why would... But once again, I've raised too many questions and answered none of them.
Well, that's my trifle for page 500 of the Doubleday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good. Well, and then should we move on to...
Please, let's move.
Let's move on to William S. Baring Gould's The Annotated Sherlock Holmes. This wonderful, groundbreaking volume that was so important to the Sherlockian world all those years ago. And here we are in the Valley of Fear. And it's very interesting. We're in the early part of the investigation. We're talking to Mrs. Douglas and others. And Watson says of Mrs. Douglas, her manner was composed in the finely molded hand, which she rested upon the edge of the table, was as steady as my own. Her sad, appealing eyes traveled from one to the other of us with a curiously inquisitive expression. That questioning gaze transformed itself suddenly into abrupt speech. "Have you found out anything yet?" she asked. Was it my imagination that there was an undertone of fear rather than hope in the question? "We've taken every possible step, Mrs. Douglas," said the inspector. "You may rest assured that nothing will be neglected." "Spare no money," she said in a dead, even tone. "It is my desire that every possible effort should be made." "Perhaps you can tell us something which may throw some light upon the matter." "I fear not, but all I know is at your service." Now, my trifle for this is really just an observation, which is the beautiful thing, the linkage between what Watson observes about Mrs. Douglas and how it leads into her dialogue and her actions as a character. She has, her manner was composed, her hands are steady, so she's not in shock, she's not shaking. Sad, appealing eyes, questioning gaze, now that's a lovely sentence. That questioning gaze transformed itself suddenly into abrupt speech Have you found out anything yet? Was it my imagination that there was an undertone of fear rather than hope in the question? And so already there's this sense of suspicion around the events of the Jack Douglas murder.
Yeah. A woman who is clearly in command of her senses and, not losing herself in the moment. It's, it gives away a little bit of the plot, but goodness.
Yeah.
It's you're right. It's extraordinary writing.
And it's so condensed, And the other thing I like about this on page 500 is the layout of the Baring Gould. If you're doing an annotated version, the layout is not necessarily an automatic thing, a template that you're going to be using. So many other annotated volumes of things have been, just one long margin-to-margin text, punctuated by footnotes gathered at the bottom. But here, the layout in the Baring Gould is the left-hand column is always reserved for footnotes and marks and images. And on the right-hand page, it's the right-hand column. And you have the text then centered in these two columns in the center. And I find it very easy to read.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always liked that too. Well, I have a copy that you do not have that has a page 500. And I should note, this inspiration of page 500, since you just read from The Valley of Fear, this is kind of where we got our idea. Remember, Holmes received a note, a cryptic note, that morning from Porlock, if I recall, and 534 C2 13 127 36 31 4 17 21 41, etc. And then the words Douglas and Burleston written in. And the idea that Holmes and Watson started batting around is that these numbers referred to a certain publication, a publication that would have more than 500 pages. And they started debating which book might do. And in this case, let's see. Okay, 534, books become a large book. C2 means, Watson said chapter the second. And then Holmes disabused him of that notion. They determined it's column. So they needed something that would have that many pages with at least two columns, and it would be a common book. Watson thought it might be the Bible. Holmes said there were too many editions, and Watson says Bradshaw, which is limited, obviously, in terms of its vocabulary. And what's left is an almanac, and they determined the answer lay in Whitaker's Almanac. Common use, requisite number of pages, double column. Right. Then they have to determine which edition of Whitaker's Almanac it was. So I have another book that goes more than 500 pages. It is The Complete Sherlock Holmes, the Garden City Publishing Company edition, the deluxe edition with a preface by Christopher Morley. Mine is from 1938. And I turn to page 500 and I find myself in the midst of The Resident Patient. And in this case, Holmes kind of says his thing about the screws. We all listened with deepest interest to this sketch of the night's doings, which Holmes had deduced from signs so subtle and minute that even when he had pointed them out to us, we could scarcely follow him in his reasonings. The inspector hurried away in the instant to make inquiries about the page, while Holmes and I returned to Baker Street for breakfast. "I'll be back by 3, said he, when he finished our meal. "Both the inspector and the doctor will meet me here at that hour. I hope by that time to have cleared up any little obscurity which the case may still present." Our visitors arrived at the appointed time, but it was 3:15 before my friend put in an appearance. So, here we have Holmes and Watson returning to Baker Street, enjoying breakfast, and Holmes saying, "I'll be back at 3. Well, okay, this is what I have a problem with. And the facts of the case bear me out. How would Holmes know that he would be back by 3? I mean, he didn't know exactly how much research he needed to do. He didn't know if he'd be fruitless in his efforts, if he would find what he needed. He didn't know the flow of traffic that day. And my goodness, look at that. He doesn't make it there until 3:45. So what a horrible estimate, and how terrible to treat your guests in such a manner, to make them wait.
Yeah, what a bum.
I know. I'll be back by 3. And here's Watson having to entertain the inspector during that time. And it was the inspector and the doctor, Dr. Trevelyan. So I can imagine Watson there twiddling his thumbs, trying to make small talk about the day, while the other two are on the edges of their seats for 45 minutes.
5 minutes, right.
When would they have drawn the line and say, well, this is preposterous. Give us a telegram when Holmes shows up.
Yeah.
You know? That's just one of those minute things, just a trifle.
I like that a lot. I've never thought about that. That's great.
Yeah. Well, I think that leaves us 1 volume left.
1 volume left.
To go 500 on.
Should be The Clinger.
Yes.
And this is the new annotated Sherlock Holmes in several volumes, but we're happily staying with the first volume to get to page 500. And page 500 has the very last paragraphs about the stockbroker's clerk. And, what we have is Holmes's observation. It's the end of his dialogue with Watson. You see that even a villain and a murderer can inspire such affection that his brother turns to suicide when he learns that his neck is forfeited. However, we have no choice as to our action. The doctor and I will remain on guard, Mr. Pycroft, if you will have the kindness to step out for the police.
And even as a very short paragraph, that has 2 annotations to it.
Yeah, and they're very interesting annotations. The first one comes footnoted at the end of the sentence. However, we have no choice as to our action. And the footnote is, Vern Goslin is highly critical of what he terms Holmes's inept handling of the case. Holmes wasted his time by hurrying to Birmingham in the morning, even though he could not see Pimmer until early evening. Instead, he should have been interviewing the manager of Mawson's and alerted the police. Holmes could have captured Beddington, saving the watchman's life, and still have been in Birmingham before 7 o'clock to deal with Mr. Pinner.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, it's one of these cases that, we can almost prosecute Holmes for his sloppiness, his eagerness to get out there, missing an opportunity to take some other step. And the second note there, which comes at the very conclusion, getting Mr. Pycroft to step out for the police, is several scholars point out the similarities of the criminal plot in The Stockbroker's Clerk, which likely occurred in 1889 or earlier, the Red-Headed League in 1890, and the Three Garridebs in 1902. Robert E. Robinson in The Beddington Plot explains that although the Stockbroker's Clerk had not been published at the time of the events recorded in the Red-Headed League, the criminal, John Clay, could have learned the details of Beddington's plan from newspaper accounts. Killer Evans, the villain of the Three Garridebs, could have read Watson's published account of the Stockbroker's Clerk and borrowed the idea from Beddington. Holmes evidently learned from the events as well. Well, in the Stockbroker's Clerk, Holmes was miles from the scene of the crime when it occurred. By the time of the Red-Headed League and the Three Garridebs, Holmes recognized the Beddington plot immediately and was prepared for the criminals. But, Robinson notes, while Holmes was profiting by each exposure to the Beddington plot, Watson was learning nothing at all. In spite of his participation in the Pycroft matter, his reaction to the events of the Red-Headed League and the Three Garridebs was one of total bewilderment. That's marvelous. Well, in the next episode, we'll take you to page 501.
What will we find? Who knows?
Well, this is the final episode of the month, and that means we have an opportunity to draw a random name. Actually, spin a random wheel and come up with a specific number associated with a random name. So let's give that wheel a spin. And it slows down, alighting on number 88. Ooh, lucky 88. Must have our piano tuner in the house here. And that looks like it belongs to Liza Potts. Congratulations. We'll have a free back issue of the Baker Street Journal on its way to you. And folks, just a reminder, all of our supporters, paid and free on Substack and on Patreon, all go into the prize drawing here. So please check us out on those platforms, support us, and maybe you too can be part of this fascinating drawing every month. And in the meantime, I suppose all of this, all 500 of these episodes, are just trifles.
It is, of course, a trifle, but there is nothing so important as trifles.
Please join us again next week for another installment of Trifles. Show notes are available on SherlockHolmesPodcast.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and be sure to check out our longer show, I Hear of Sherlock Everywhere, where we interview notable Sherlockians and share news of the Sherlockian world.
You've taken my breath away, Mr. Holmes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sold out of geese, I see.
Yeah, they have 500 in the morning.
Too late, I think.